Hi, everybody. It's Kendall with Sager Family Farm, and today we are doing a seedling update. So 2 weeks ago, we planted some seedlings, and today we're going to check in on them and measure them and see how much they've grown. Just in case you're new here, I will sometimes ask you some questions, and if I do, I will point them out and they'll pop up down here. They're multiple choice, so you'll be able to answer. And then you can also ask me questions by typing over here in this box. So only I can see your questions. Nobody else can see your questions. And only you can see me. I can't see anyone else who is watching. No one else can see you. So no one can see or hear you. So I'm the only camera that's active. So you can type me questions, and that's the way to get my attention. I usually answer questions towards the end just because sometimes it's hard to show you pictures and videos and talk and answer questions all at the same time. But if you type them in there, I won't forget. I'll go back at the end and make sure that I get to them. And it does look like we're in an office and not in a farm. That's because the Wi-Fi out in my backyard is not quite as good as it is in here in my office. So I have lots of pictures of our seeds that are growing out in the backyard and in the farm area. And I even have a bonus video of a sheep today. So hooray. So without further ado, let's take a look at what our seedlings are doing. So I've got some pictures for us over here. So my first picture is of our chart where we were writing down all of our seed heights. So if we take a look at what we were doing last week, the carrots that we planted had not sprouted yet, which wasn't too crazy because it can take carrots over a week to sprout. So when we checked in on them in the first week, it's not too bad that they're still underground. The pumpkin still underground as well. So we're still waiting on the pumpkin. The sunflower had just sprouted and was a ½ inch tall. And then we had a whole bunch of radishes that were averaging about 1 inch in height. So they were about 1 inch in height. So let's take a look and see what our carrots are up to this week. So in week 1, our carrots just looked like a dirt patch. But if we look, oh, I didn't even write week 2, but the picture with no label on it, there are some little green patches in there, and those are our carrots. So our carrots sprouted, but it looks definitely like there's these big clumps of carrots. So I'm going to show you guys what I did to these carrots. So I actually thinned them. So thinning carrots is because when the carrots grow all really close to each other, they're all competing for what they need to survive. Plants need water, soil, and sunlight, and the leaves that grow block out the other ones. So I went and I clipped some of the seedlings so there was only one seedling left, and there was some spaces between the other seedlings. So that way my carrot would get enough sunlight. Because if I left all 5 of them growing, then they would be struggling to get all of the sunlight that they need to grow. So I did thin out my carrots because carrot seeds are really small and it was really hard to plant just 1 or 2 in there. So I kind of got like 5 seedlings all bunched together in there. So that's why I had to go through and thin them, is to make sure the seedlings were getting everything that they needed. So once I had thinned them, then I can start to measure them a little bit. So let's take a look at how tall these seedlings are. So that seedling, I kind of put an arrow to where I thought the seedling was, and you guys can answer as well. So I've got a question that just popped up down in the bottom corner, is how tall is this carrot seedling? Is it a ½ inch tall? Is it 3/4 of an inch tall? Or is it 1 inch tall? So let's see. I think I'll have to move where I am because I think I can draw on top of this. And let's see. So the 1 inch mark is right here, but our carrot is kind of down here. So the 1 inch, it's divided into all of these little tick marks, but the bigger tick marks show the quarters. So I think this one here is 1/4. This one is 2/4 or 1/2. And then this one where I think it's measuring is 3/4. So let's see. So a few of us thought it was a 1/2 inch, and it's easy to mistake that because that tick mark, it is definitely bigger. So it's hard to see all of these tick marks. And some of us said 3/4 inch. So great job. I think this carrot seedling is 3/4 of an inch tall. So I'm going to write that in our chart here. So I'm going to write today's date up here. So it's the 19th. So I'm remembering, oh, it's been a week since the last time I measured. And then here I can write that our carrot was 3/4 of an inch tall when last week it hadn't sprouted yet. So now let's take a look at what our pumpkin's up to, because our pumpkin hadn't sprouted yet either. So here's our pumpkin, and our pumpkins have definitely sprouted. And even right here, this thing on the pumpkin's cotyledon leaf, so the first 2 leaves that the pumpkin pops out are its cotyledon leaves. That is the seed that's still stuck on that leaf. So it'll fall off in just a little bit. Here, if we look at week 1, right there, there's actually like a little tiny green bit right there. So the pumpkin was just starting to pop up. So that one sprouted probably the day after we looked at it last week. So these pumpkins, they definitely look like they're growing. And I'm not going to thin these seeds. There's 2 pumpkins growing pretty close to each other, but I'm not going to snip one down. And that's for a different reason, because carrots, their leaves tend to grow up. And if we think about our sunflowers grow big and tall and their leaves branch out right over top of them. But our pumpkins grow differently. So pumpkins don't grow straight up. They kind of grow in a vine along the ground. So they spread out and they're able to get more sunshine. So I'm actually going to leave both of our pumpkin seedlings here to grow because they'll grow out in different directions. So they'll still be able to get all of the sunlight, water, and soil that they need to survive. So since they're not growing straight up and they grow kind of out as a vine to the side, I can leave both of them. So I'm not going to thin them. So I'm just going to measure the tallest seedling, which I think was that one with its leaf poking up. And let me give you guys a new question, which is how tall is this pumpkin seedling? So you can answer down in the corner, and that is, how tall is this pumpkin seedling? Is it 1.5 inches? Is it 1 3/4 inches? Or is it 2 inches? So let's take a look. So we'll try to see those big tick marks on my ruler, which again, it's kind of hard to see. But here I can mark this one is 1 inch and this one is 2 inch. And my pumpkin seedling is kind of coming right here in the middle. So it's not 2 inches. So now let's look at these little tick marks. So here is one tick mark, that's the 1/4 mark. And then here's the next biggest tick mark, and that's 1/2 or 2/4. And then this one is 3/4. So it looks like our pumpkin seedling is measuring right exactly between 1 and 2 inches. So that means that it's at, and if we count the bigger tick marks here, so the 1, 2, that is the 1/2 tick mark. So that is 1.5. So it looks like a lot of people answered 1.5. So a few people answered 1 3/4, which again, it's really hard to measure all of those little tick marks. So it's a little tricky, but it looks like a lot of us got 1.5 for our pumpkin seedling. So let's go back to our chart and write that into our chart. So our pumpkin seedling is 1.5 inches tall from not sprouted. So this one grew a lot in just 1 week. So now let's take a look at our sunflower seedlings, see what our sunflower seedling's up to. So here we've got our sunflower seedling, and we can see in week 1, it was measuring just 1/2 inch. It was very tiny. And now our sunflowers are nice and tall. There was actually even a second sunflower that popped out of the ground there. And for our sunflower seedlings, since they're growing straight up and their leaves will shade each other and make it hard for each other to grow, we can even see this seedling here is starting to curve outward so that it can try to get out from underneath the taller one. So it's trying to get some sunlight in there. So I'm going to thin these ones as well. So to thin my sunflower, let's see, I can play my video of me thinning a sunflower. So I'm just going to chop one off. And the reason why I use my tiny little scissors is so that I don't disturb the roots of these tiny little seedlings. So I don't want to hurt their roots. So I usually just clip it and then it's gone. But I don't waste my seedlings. So now here's the bonus video of my sheep, because luckily Coco the sheep loves to eat my little seedlings. So I brought my sunflower clipping out and I fed it to Coco, and she thought it was a delicious snack. So my seedlings that I thin, I do feed to my chickens and to my sheep, so they're not going to waste. So let's take a look then. The other cool thing, since I planted my sunflower seedlings in a plastic cup that I can see through, so I can see the soil, I can actually start to see the roots. So all of these little white strings that I see, so all of these little guys here, these are the roots of my seedling. So that's why I used a clear plastic cup, because I think it's pretty cool to see the roots of the seedling in the soil, because it's something we usually don't get to see unless we're ripping the plant out of the soil. So I think it's pretty cool to look at the roots. So let's measure the seedling that I left behind. So I left the taller seedling here, and the leaf itself is blocking a little bit of our ruler. So this one might be a little bit trickier to measure, but let's go ahead and I'll put up another question for you guys over here in the bottom corner is, how tall is the sunflower seedling? Is it 2 inches, 2.5 inches, or 3 inches? So since my sunflower leaf is blocking a little bit of it, I'm going to start at the 3-inch mark and kind of go down. So this is 3 inches, but my seedling's down here, so it's not 3 inches tall. So then I can look at these bigger tick marks. So this one is the first big tick mark here. That's 1/4. So since it's just one beneath the number 3, I'm going to have to subtract 1/4. So that would be 2 3/4 inches tall. And then this one is the next tick mark. So that would be, I have to subtract 1/2 inch from 3. So that's 2.5 inches. And I think 2 would probably be, let's see, if we count these tick marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, this one's probably the 1/4 inch. So 2 is probably somewhere down here. So it looks like this seedling is 2.5 inches tall. So this seedling grew quite a bit as well. So that one is a pretty big seedling. So let's take a look then, and we'll write that in here. So it looks like between our pumpkin and our sunflower, it looks like those two grew the most. So between those two, which one grew more? So the pumpkin started out at not sprouted. So that one was at 0. And then it's 1.5 inches tall. So my pumpkin grew 1.5 inches. So that's quite a lot. So let's look at our sunflower. Our sunflower had already sprouted and was 1/2 inch, but now it's measuring 2.5 inches. So now I have to subtract its starting height from its current height to figure out how much it grew. So I have to subtract 1/2 inch from 2.5 inches. So in that one, luckily that's some pretty easy subtraction, because I can just cross off this 1/2. So our sunflower grew 2 inches from last week. So it grew more than the pumpkins. The pumpkins grew 1.5 inches, and our sunflower grew 2 inches from last week. So I think our sunflower actually grew the most. So now let's take a look at our radishes, where we're doing some more complicated math. So this is definitely for some older siblings out there, or maybe our parents can help us out a little bit, because this involves adding some fractions and dividing. So don't worry, we'll still be measuring our radishes. So our radishes over here, they look like they grew quite a bit. So we did see that the first week, the radishes had their cotyledon leaves. So their first 2 leaves that look nice and round. So those are these little leaves there. And here in the second week, the radishes still have their cotyledon leaves. So they're these little heart-shaped ones on the side, but then they're growing some different looking leaves here. So that's what the rest of the plant's leaves are gonna look like. And it looks like most of them are growing some true leaves over here instead of their cotyledon leaves. So the radishes are growing quite a bit as well. So let's take a look then at measuring our radishes. So I measured 3 radishes because I have so many radishes. I measured the first 3 on the end of my row, so I would remember which ones I was measuring. And it looks like our first radish seedling over here, I can see the 3-inch mark, a big tick mark, a big tick mark, a big tick mark, and then this one's probably where the 2-inch mark is. So it looks like we're measuring right here at this bigger tick mark, and that one looks like it's 2 1/4 inches tall. This next one looks like we're measuring almost exactly at 1 inch. So that is a littler seedling, and I think it was littler last week too. And then this one is even trickier because it's not quite at 3 inches. And then here's the first big tick mark showing 1/4 inch. It's not really there either. So this one's actually halfway between 1/4 and 0, which is 1/8. So it's the next little tick mark in between there. So I think this one is measuring 3 1/8 inches. So that is definitely a little trickier one to count. So let's take a look then at averaging them. So I'm going to add the 3 heights of our radishes together and then divide by 3 to get their average height. So if I have a tall one, a short one, and another tall one, I want kind of where is the average height? So what is kind of this sort of in the middle, but an average? So let's go and take a look. So I'll first put in my measurements. So we had 2 1/4, we had 1 inch, and we had 3 1/8. And then we're going to divide by 3 because that's the number of plants that I measured. So then now we're going to have to let me move where I am really quickly. Let's see. So we can see my whole pie slice. So over here, we've got, now I want to kind of turn all of my fractions so that they have the same denominator. That's the number on the bottom. So since we had quarters and eighths, I'm going to turn them all into eighths. And as we can see in my little pie, 1/4 is actually equal to 2/8. So that's why I'm going to change my 1/4 into 2/8 so it's easier to add with my 1/8 fraction over here. And we can count out those fractions. So it looks like those are going to add into 3/8. So 1/4 plus 1/8 is 3/8. So let's see, I'm going to move myself back down to the bottom corner so that I can clear my drawings. And then let's go to the next step. Oh, nope, I have to move myself somewhere else because now we can't see. All right, I'll move myself over here. So now I added up all of the whole numbers first. So it looks like we had a 2, a 1, and a 3. So 2 plus 1 plus 3 is equal to 6. And then when I added up all of my fractions, so 2/8 plus 1/8 is equal to 3/8. And now I can actually divide all of those by 3. So when I start dividing, 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I've got a 2, and then plus, and then I can divide 3/8 by 3. So if I divide 3/8, I'm dividing the numerator, so the top number. So that is actually 1/8. So that is going to be my average height. So it's actually going to be 2 1/8 is my average height. So that's what I'm going to write in there. So that might have been some complicated math for our younger viewers, but just in case anyone out there needed a math challenge and is doing their own seedling counting. So now we've got our radishes that are averaging 2 1/8 of an inch. So I think that is the end of our seedlings. So I checked all 4 different types of our seedlings, our carrots, our pumpkins, our sunflowers, and our radishes. And we got to see how much each of them grew. So let's see, I will go back to full screen over here. So now I can answer some questions. So if you have any questions over here, you can ask them over here or ask your parents to help you type a question. So let's see, I have one question that says, how big are these things going to get? So that's a good question. Let's look at, got some of my seed packets over here just so I can double check. So I believe our sunflowers are going to be the biggest ones. So the sunflowers, these ones say that they grow to a height of 8 to 10 feet. So 10 feet is actually 2 times as tall as I am. So that is like if there was one of me and then another one of me standing on top of my head. So that is a pretty tall sunflower. So the sunflower is going to get to be the tallest. The radishes, I don't know if it's going to tell me how big the radishes get, but I tend to grow a lot of radishes. So radishes tend to grow about 1 foot in height, their leaves. So they'll grow up to about 1 foot. So right now they're measuring at about 2 inches and 1 foot is 12 inches. So maybe about that big. So a little taller than my face. So my radishes are going to be on the smaller side. Same thing with my carrots. My carrot tops tend to be a little shorter, except for when they produce flowers. Usually they'll produce 1 large stalk, and that can be up to 2 feet tall when they're producing flowers. But usually I pick my carrots before they start to make flowers so that I can eat them. So those ones are shorter. And then I don't have a packet for my pumpkins. But if my pumpkins were growing on the ground, they could definitely grow a pretty long vine. So last year, I grew them over an archway that I could walk through. So my pumpkin vine probably grew to be about 10 feet in length. So my sunflower could be up to 10 feet high, straight up in the air. And the pumpkin kind of grows along the ground and is probably going to be about 10 feet in length. There are different types of pumpkins out there. So I'm growing a sugar pie pumpkin, and the pumpkin is about as big as my head. So it's kind of a smaller pumpkin, actually. But there are other types of pumpkins. Like I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and if you've ever been out to Half Moon Bay, they are famous for their pumpkin festival around Halloween. And their pumpkin festival, people grow pumpkins that weigh hundreds of pounds. So they grow huge pumpkins, and those vines can be extremely long. So I'm not sure how long, but definitely a lot longer than 10 feet. Those sorts of vines can actually grow up to about 1 foot or 2 a day. So those are big pumpkins, and I don't have space for them. So I'm not growing giant pumpkins. I'm growing itty bitty baby pumpkins. So let's see. Yeah, so the sunflowers get really big. Let's see, how long will it take for a flower to grow on the sunflower? Let's see if I can look at my seed packet and find that out too. So it does say the days to emerge is 10 to 15 days. So days to emerge is how long it takes to sprout. And this one, let's see. It usually says a days to harvest or days to mature. And this one doesn't say. But I'm going to guess it's going to take probably at least 3 months. So it's going to be quite a while, but that is probably what I am guessing, is that it's probably going to take about 3 months. Oh, here's the right sunflower packet. Let's see if this one says. I'll have to look that up, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be about 3 months until I start seeing the head of the sunflower, because a lot of crops take at least 90 days to mature, which is close to 3 months. So let's see. Oh, and it looks like some of you guys have been to the Half Moon Bay Pumpkin Festival. It's pretty cool. I really like the Pumpkin Festival. It's a great place to eat pie and see giant pumpkins and very cool carved pumpkins. So This week is actually going to be the very last week that we're going to check on our seedlings. So we only did 2 updates on our seedlings. So if you're growing some seedlings at home, you can continue to check in on them and measure them. And next week, we're going to switch over to watching some caterpillars. So right about when we started this, I actually found some swallowtail butterfly caterpillars on some fennel. So I have some caterpillars right now that we're going to start watching for the next 3 weeks and see what they get up to. So hopefully one will make it into a chrysalis, so a cocoon. I also just yesterday found a monarch butterfly egg on one of my milkweed plants. So we're hopefully that's going to hatch and we're going to watch it grow. So instead of watching our seedlings, this will be the end of our seedling project for now. And we're going to switch to caterpillars. And we're going to do caterpillars for 3 weeks. And then it's actually going to be summer break for me. So that'll bring us to about mid-June. And on our last caterpillar update, I'm going to do a mega update of all of our weekly updates. So on our last update, I'm actually going to go take pictures of the baby chickens that we were checking in weekly. So we're going to see what the baby chickens look like at that point. So they'll probably be about 12 weeks old. And the last time we looked at them, they were only 5 weeks old. And I'll take a look at our plants, which right now they're 2 weeks old. So we'll take a look at them in 3 weeks. So they will be 5 weeks old. So we'll take a look at our caterpillars, seedlings, and our chickens at the very, very, very last update in 3 weeks. But next week, we're going to switch over to caterpillars because I love caterpillars. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I think I got all of your questions. And if you want to tune in on Thursday, so I think before I said it was going to be about bees and mites and things, but I kind of changed my mind. I think I am going to look at a lot of different types of bees, but I'm going to give you guys a garden tour and we're going to play pollinator bingo. So we're going to look for all the different types of bees I can find, butterflies, birds, any sort of pollinator I can find in my yard. And I'm going to look for things that my pollinators want. So if you want to tune in on Thursday at 3:30, we're going to be playing pollinator bingo, and I'll have a worksheet so that you can play along at home too. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.